Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining today's webinar, Understanding Your Customer Journey in Today's Complex Landscape. My name is Beth Shockley. I'm the Director of Marketing here at TopSpot and will be the moderator for today's webinar that we've created to help you all understand the journey your potential customers take from their first search on Google all the way through to closing the sale. A few things before we dig in here. We will be sending you the recording next week, so it'll come in a follow-up email along with a few other resources that we'll be covering throughout our presentation. We've also carved out some time at the end of the webinar to answer any questions you have. You can ask a question throughout the presentation in the questions box of your GoToWebinar tool, or you can tweet at us at TopSpotIMS. You can also follow along on Twitter using the hashtag TopSpotWebinar. In the event that we don't get to your question, a TopSpot will be following up with you personally to get anything answered for you. And once we're finished, there will be a survey that pops up, and we'd really appreciate your honest feedback. It helps us with planning future webinars and making any tweaks or adjustments to current ones. All right, today's speaker is Josh Blankenship. He is my coworker and TopSpotter since 2013. He began his career at TopSpot as an SEO and is now one of our client strategies managers. Take it away, Josh.
Awesome. Well, thank you all who have taken the time out of their day to join us on this webinar. It's a really fun subject matter. Looking at customer journey and how to measure it. I mean, as long as marketing has been around, understanding the journey that our customers go through from initial prospect to closed-won client and that lifetime value has been kind of the ultimate goal. And traditional marketing and media does not provide the analytics that the digital solutions we benefit from today do. And so today we're going to try to take a look at the customer journey as we see it for a lot of our clients and the work that we do with them here at TopSpot, and give some tangible takeaways on how to look at data and use the analytics available to help chart and look at the customer journey more comprehensively, and some of the actions you can take no matter your role, sales, marketing, business owner, to help influence and hone in on where you should be spending your time at the most pivotal points in your customers' journeys. So one of the founding principles or founding kind of data sets for this webinar that really inspired it is a great statistic from the Challenger group that was looking at sales funnels, and it was looking at the statistic that prospects are 57% of the way through their buying process by the time they decide to contact you. So that means almost 60% of the selling process or conversion from prospect to closed-won and new client relationship takes place before outreach is even made. And so today, because of smartphones and all the digital resources and videos and review sites and content that is out there, your end customers and your prospects, your future customers, get to take control of their buying cycle more so than ever before. They can evaluate your business, the reviews left on your business. They can look at pictures of your products. They can check out spec sheets and pricing and all sorts of things before they even make contact. And so you're winning or losing a lot of future business before you even know it. And so it's really important for any organization, no matter if you're an enterprise or a small to medium business, to be in tune with that journey, because that's the lion's share of the opportunity to influence and produce a healthier lead funnel for your organization. So this graphic is showing a little bit of that, where customers may do a keyword search, they may watch a YouTube video, check out your social site, they're going to get on your competitors' sites, they're going to look at reviews, local reviews, and they're going to browse through your website, and hopefully it's offering a first-rate experience. And then they'll decide, as they eliminate your competition, to actually reach out. And then from there, they still need 43% of their way to become a closed-won deal. So then you need to, as an organization, be able to evaluate, what are the quality of these leads that are coming in? What is our response time to this outreach? How is our first impression? How knowledgeable are we? Because that is the table stakes for competing in today's hyper-competitive landscape. So one of the places that we wanted to start is looking at the search landscape, especially since a lot of our specialty here is in SEO and paid search and social paid search management. You can look at the digital platforms on how B2B buyers and B2C consumers are using the internet. The B2C side is always out in front, and B2B tends to be a little bit of a lagger. But even on the B2B side, 89% of B2B researchers will use the internet somewhere in their research process. So it's a critically important channel to make sure that you've got a pulse on, and it's also one of the most rapidly evolving channels. So anyone who has spent any time in digital has probably seen this firsthand, where maybe you have a ranking for certain search phrases that a month later has moved either up or down, or maybe the response that Google's giving to that search is totally different. Maybe there's new elements. And so we'll look at all the different things that Google's doing in their search landscape and how you can keep a pulse on it and respond to it as a business. And then we'll talk about how you can measure the marketing channels that you invest in a little bit more effectively as they touch the customer along their journey. And then also the pieces of content that you invest in or you and your team create, and how influential are the different pieces of content that you spend your time and resources making in that customer's journey as well. And then the final piece will be, when somebody actually makes contact, how well does your organization measure and improve the handoff between marketing and sales? So just as a piece of data kind of illustrate the point on how much evolution is taking place in the search landscape, this is a screenshot from a blog we published back in January 2018. And so on the right-hand side here, you can see the search phrase industrial internet marketing. So in the top spot here, we have a paid ad, and then we also have the #1 organic listing. So when we took this screenshot back in January 2018, there were 18 million pieces of content that Google found relevant to return for the phrase industrial internet marketing. Fast forward a year and a half later, that exact same phrase now returns 378 million results. So that's an increase of 2,000% in just that short time frame. And that's a mixture of Google itself as an enterprise becoming better at indexing and finding relevant content to match to a search, but that also a lot of your competition and organizations like yourself are investing in creating more and more digital assets that can be indexed and should compete for certain phrases. So the competition is continuing to increase, and the landscape is changing about what it's rewarding, the types of content and answers it's providing. And so we'll take a look at some of those changes here in a second as well. Google publishes some of this content and provides some transparency about the amount of changes and experiments that they are running. And last year alone, they said that they ran over 200,000 experiments that resulted in more than 2,400 changes to their search results. So you guys have probably seen a lot of this firsthand. You're doing different searches. You may see more content that's popping out in full sentence form and answers right in the search results. You may see more video content showing up. You may see those people may also ask questions that are coming up more and more. So Google will run these experiments to a certain set of users, and if the user set responds positively to the experiment, they'll roll it out more globally. So even some of your own searches, if you're paying attention, you may see new features, and you may actually be an experiment participant that Google's trying to test on their own user experience. Moz is a really cool organization that is a technology firm that builds tools to help measure search traffic and Google itself and things that are involved with SEO tactics and performance. And as a part of their platform, they've actually created a survey or a research tool called Mozcast. And so Mozcast has a very sizable set of searches that are done consistently, and they measure how different Google's response is to those searches over time to try to get a temperature gauge on how dynamic or aggressive the landscape could be changing. And so a lot of the red that you're seeing is more indicative of a potential algorithm update or a change in the search, what they're returning in the search results, that lets Google or lets Moz predict if Google is rolling out algorithm changes that are influencing how websites rank and perform and are being returned to users. So this timeline right here shows from May 2014 to May 2019, and the blue is less seismic change and the red is more aggressive seismic change. And so you can see that the latter half here has been a lot more active in what Google is doing, what they're testing, and how they're changing and evolving. So that means if you're not paying attention to these things consistently, you may be performing well at one point, but the landscape can move out from underneath you and all of a sudden you see performance issues. So it's constantly evolving, and so it takes constant awareness about what is Google rewarding, what is being returned for the searches that are most important to you, and how do you maintain consistent visibility across those searches. So as a test, even here at TopSpot, just for this, preparing for this webinar, we had Tim Doyle, who's our VP of Sales out of Chicago, do a specific search and take a picture of his search results. And then we had Beth, who's our Director of Marketing, who did the introduction today, take the same search from Lexington, Kentucky. So same exact search, two different geographies, and you can see there are different results that Google has chosen to return. So for example, there are less ads being shown in the Lexington, Kentucky search. So we have these shopping ads up top, which in Chicago, they were moved over to the right-hand side. And in the Chicago search, we had a more traditional search ad at the top. So if you're running ads, across the nation, in this search right here in Lexington, Kentucky, your search ad was not being triggered, but maybe it was being triggered over here. So there may be some geography at play and where your ads are being served and maybe the consistency in which they're being served. You can also see there's this people also ask, which gives a lead into other questions that Google has seen people search in related sessions. They may answer your questions. And they've actually returned different questions to these two different individuals as well. So again, that could be influenced by their particular personalization on their machines and prior search behavior, and it could also be geographically modified based on data that Google has on certain questions that they're seeing, or maybe more regionally focused and things of that nature. Also looking at, both these screenshots have the same exact amount of listings or real estate shown, and in the one on the right, Eaton Corporation ranks organically in the 4th place, but in Chicago, they're not ranking organically in that same position. So if you're more of a national company or you have different markets that you have different strategies or offices out of, you may see variance like we've shown here, even from your Chicago office to your Lexington office, right? So it's really important as you measure your visibility across search to be in tune with these types of differences, but then also be able to use holistic measures to understand general visibility and how that's fluctuating over time, because just running tests in different locations, et cetera, can give you wildly different results. And sometimes maybe your boss or someone else on your team is doing a search and is concerned about a lack of visibility, and you do the same search and you see yourself. So it's really important to understand why those differences may be taking place and how to address them. In that same vein, there is another experiment that Moz did on mobile devices. So this is as mobile search traffic exceeds desktop traffic, and especially if you're a locally oriented business, this can have a major impact on how you're going to market and the type of content that's performing well for you. So in their experiment, and again, we'll send you this PDF so that you can review it later as well and kind of look more at these numbers. But when it says near me versus in city versus no modifier, we wanted to show you what that means. So essentially, and they had two users on their mobile devices sitting on the same couch doing slightly different searches and measuring how different Google's response was to their searches. So in this example, the near me search was could have been something like home builders near me. So the inclusion of near me versus the in city, home builders in Houston. So doing that same search, sitting on the same couch, they got 80% similar, 20% difference in the search results that Google chose to serve them. Using the near me versus just a plain no modifier, but Google using your phone and your geography off of your location, they had 80% similar. And then using the in-city versus no modifier, it was actually 77% similar, 23% different. Now, if one of those individuals went across town to a different zip code and they did the exact same search, the results were even more drastic. So here's an industrial example: valve distributors near me, which was a recommended search for us earlier. So this is showing that this is a search that is done. Just doing the same search but physically being in different zip codes, their results pages were 26% similar, right? And 74% different. So as a marketer, this can be maddening, right? So you produce some content, you're trying to target certain local behavior, and you're getting a 74% variance simply off of zip code. So it's, as any organization that's trying to measure the customer journey, it's really critical that you are aware of how much personalization, search history, geography, and the language that someone's using can influence the results that they're getting, so that you can audit that against your own business and figure out, hey, we're performing well for these types of variations, but we lose visibility on these other variations. So one of the things that's great for you to do, either on your own or with maybe your marketing or your sales team, is to test some of this out. To gather in a room at your monthly marketing meeting or whenever you guys gather, and everyone do the same search on your mobile phones, and then do the same search on your desktop, and try to really study how Google has responded and the types of results they're returning, so that you can begin to get a sense of how personalized and dynamic search results are becoming. And especially on a mobile device, right? So if you're looking at your analytics and you have a really high percentage of mobile traffic, and you know that mobile users are really important. In this example, mobile phones have really small screens, and so real estate is even more at a premium. And so being in tune with the differences that are being rolled out, and even being aware of new ad formats that are being rolled out. So these are local service ads that are being shown over here on the right-hand side for locksmith. So it's a new format for locally oriented businesses that are being rolled out by Google. So in this right-hand search, you'll notice that every single piece of content that's available in the screen is a paid ad or paid real estate. And on the left-hand side, we have 2 paid ads, and now we have video content that's being rewarded, because Google knows that watching videos on the phone is a really good experience, and that potentially people searching on a mobile phone are more apt to click on video content while on a phone. So that's being rewarded. So if you haven't made or produced video content, you start seeing that for those really important terms, that some of the new competition for your landscape and your visibility is rewarding video content. And it's not only important to notice how searches can be different, but also the types of content that are ranking and that are being rewarded. That's critical. You may have had a piece of content that you worked really diligently on that used to perform very well, but now you've noticed is not giving you the same traffic numbers or same conversion numbers as before. And that may be because Google has shifted what they're returning to users for that search. Maybe they've noticed in their own analysis that serving more informational type content or serving directories or other content formats gives a better user experience. And if you haven't adapted to that, you can start getting left behind. So for this example here, we have open die forging as an example. There are 10 results on this page. 3 of them are actual groups that produce manufacture forgings, right? So 3 of them you could actually call and get forgings produced. The rest are what we would refer to as indirect competition. So not people that are competing with them for actual forging business, but people and organizations and websites that are competing with them for real estate. So all the sections in blue represent the non-transactional content, meaning it's either a blog post, the people also ask, which we refer to as a snippet, and then also video content, which is not an organic page that is ranking. So for example, you can see this full list here. All the blue are not traditional web content, just speaking about open forgings, but more informational, image-based, and blog post content. So you want to take an accounting when you're doing some of those key searches. Who are the new people that are showing up, and what is the intent of the content that Google is favoring? So, for example here, right, so we can see this is a part of a Y Forging 101 blog, and then down here as well, we can see this is a closed dive versus open dive. So it's a very conversational, informational piece of traffic. So if blogs are ranking, if Wikipedia is ranking, you want to take note of that. And then also look at the dynamic snippets. So anytime you see one of these neat search pieces of content, we refer to that as a snippet. So you can see here where they're pulling a couple of sentences off of this web page and an image from a different web page to build their own custom snippet. So you want to take note on if you maybe you're performing well traditionally, but maybe there's a new snippet that a competitor is being featured in. Or maybe all of a sudden you see a really good traffic gain and you're not sure why. Maybe you've been featured in the snippet. And so there's strategies that we can help with to help position your content so that it's more favorable and more likely to have Google grab hold of it and create their own snippets out of it. You also see this people also ask. So one of the new challenges of the search landscape is that maybe you rank in the 3rd position, but in this people also ask, these are often answered by other websites. So if people start clicking on this and they start opening up and showing other websites answers, you get pushed further and further down. So you may not be ranking on page 1 in the traditional sense, but maybe you're featured in one of the questions. Or maybe your content should more thoroughly address the questions being posed by Google in that search landscape. So those are the types of signals and pieces you need to be in tune with, or your team here should help you evaluate so that you're creating evolving competitive content that can win and be competitive. And also take note of directories that are listing or ranking well on these search phrases too. Just as another example before we move on to some of the measurement piece, another search example here is heat shrink tubing. So down here in the organic section, Amazon actually has the 1st and 2nd organic listing, right? And that's a new evolution of where we're at as an economy and how Amazon has performed and continued to grow and their influence on commerce in general. So in 2015, Google had a 54% share of product searches, meaning when people were starting a search for product, 54% of the time they started that search on Google.com. And only 46% on Amazon.com. But today, that's actually reversed. So more people just go straight to Amazon.com to begin a product search. So really important shifts that regardless of how you go to market, you need to be in tune with so that you can continue to evolve how your content performs, the channels that you're investing in, and measuring that across where your customers are choosing to spend and search for your product or your services. So here is just a quick list of some of the things that we referenced in evaluating those search landscapes. So this will be as part of that PDF that we send out so you guys can ask yourself these questions. And these are things about informational traffic, the types of ads that are showing up, the organic results, mobile versus desktop, how phone and geography is influencing your search, and then also taking note of new players that are continuing to gain market share for search traffic like Amazon, LinkedIn, YouTube, or other social media sites. All right, so the first part of the customer journey is being there when those searches are done for your product and your service. And if you take care of that and you earn that click, now the story is actually just beginning. So can you take that potential prospect that has just landed on your website and actually continue to mature them across their customer journey to get them through that 57% to get them to actually reach out and enter into your sales cycle? So what we're going to cover on this next section here is multi-channel funnel reporting, which we'll talk about here. We're going to look at how to measure assisted conversions and why they're important. And then we're also going to look at, and it's a little bit more of an advanced topic, but it's a really important topic. And so we're really excited to walk through how you can start measuring assistive content as well, and the pieces of content that you create that are most influential in progressing your prospects across the customer journey. So as I said a second ago, showing up is just the beginning. You can get all of this right. You have the ad, you have the organic listing, you earn that click. But to the customer, to your prospect, the story's just beginning. So they're landing on this website. They're now starting to skim your content to figure out if A, you can help them with what it is they need, and B, if you're a quality enough group to actually reach out to for a quote or to talk about a service offering, right? So when you land on this page, a lot of you will feature a lot of different pieces of content, right? So you may have case studies, you may have a blog, you may have a portfolio section, and as you'll see in a lot of your data, or if you're in tune with the reporting that, in the discussions that you're either having with our team on a monthly basis, or you have your own analytics set up, you have decent statistics about how people engage with these different pieces of content. But very rarely does someone just land on this page, read a little bit, and say, okay, I'm just going to contact them, right? So we're seeing that the buying cycles are becoming more and more complex, and people want to validate you more thoroughly at their own pace. So the statistic shows that 76% of B2B buyers, right, and this is often even more for the B2C side, leverage at least three or more information channels when researching a purchase. Right, so they're going to use your website, they're going to use review websites, they're going to use videos, testimonials, they're going to use your competition's website to inform their opinion on who the best groups are to reach out to. And that's really where the battle for new customers is taking place. So one of the most important pieces for any marketing, sales, or business owner to understand is to be able to look across that customer journey and not put your customers in a very simple box, right? Because when you don't understand the full customer journey, you can make the wrong decision about which channels to invest in and where you're getting the best rate of return on your marketing or ad dollars. So if you've been a TopSpot client for a while and you've seen some of our standard reporting, we always include what we refer to as the multi-channel funnel report, which is the screenshot on the left-hand side. And simplistically, what this means is this shows the different channels that people use on their path to purchase, which is that customer journey that we're trying to focus on measuring here today. So if TopSpot best practice, and we've helped you set up your analytics, this conversions channel right here, these numbers equal the forms that are being submitted from your website each month or each week, right? So if somebody submits a contact form or requests a quote, a schedule consultation, we track that as conversions, so some kind of business outreach. So what this is showing us is that in this time frame, 10 different people clicked on a paid search ad, spent some time on this client site, they then left the website and came back through an organic search, and 4 different people converted or reached out to that organization in that time period. So traditional marketers will just look at that and see, hey, 4 people from organic search reached out to me last month. And they may draw the conclusion, my paid search isn't working as much as I would hope it would. But if you're looking more holistically across your customer journey, you'll be able to see that actually all 4 of those conversions started with a paid search visit. And if you didn't have ads running in that particular landscape, you wouldn't have even had the opportunity to introduce yourself to these users that ultimately came and converted. TopSpot also has built a form analytics tool that we call Loop Analytics. And it's a great place to help look at this customer journey. And that's why we built it, because we want to help understand if these 17 conversions were really the right type of quality and in the right spaces that your business is trying to grow strategically. So on any of the conversions that come into Loop Analytics, you can click into the user's profile and you can see more of their customer journey. So this is an example from a client of ours that had a conversion for a request to quote earlier this week. And looking back at this user's path, they actually first came to our client's website in early November through a paid search ad. Then they came back in late February, the beginning and middle of March from paid search ads, and then they moved over to organic. A lot of times they start Googling the company name itself. It's more of a branded search. They came back in early April and then converted finally in late May. So looking at this is more of the modern customer buying cycle. And so being able to measure that and understand and give credit to your paid search is critical to making good decisions with your marketing dollars and resources. Now, as a part of this webinar, we want this to be very actionable and give you guys, you all resources to go and do some of your own analysis or even deepen the conversation with your current TopSpot account managers or team. So in all these screenshots, we'll have the step-by-step click path, and down at the bottom as well, that you can take to pull up these same reports. So this will be something we'll send out later. Looking at the multi-channel though, inside of conversions, multi-channel, assisted conversions, it's a great place to look to help measure holistically how these channels are performing for you. So looking at just paid search here, we can look at 103 last click conversions that we would give credit to paid search for. But if you or your marketing team are not factoring in assisted conversions, then you're leaving an additional 20% on the table that you've actually generated from your paid search program that you hadn't been measuring before. And so it's really important to get a pulse on your customer journey so that you don't go defund something that you find out is actually a really important assistive channel for you and is leading to a lot of the quality leads you're driving. Inside of Loop Analytics, if you're familiar, or again in the surveys, if you say, hey, I'd love to hear a little bit more about this for my specific business, please leave that in the comments so that we can set up a separate call and look at this with you. But we automatically include both of those as a detail in here as well, so that you can see the first touch was paid search and the last touch was Google organic, so that you can get a sense of how some of your best leads are coming in and using these channels collectively. Now, once you've kind of gotten a sense of how your channels support each other and they assist in your customer's journey, one of the hardest things as a marketer is to understand how the different pieces of content you create support each other as well. And so we're going to share, it's a little bit more advanced on how to pull some of this data. So again, please fill out the survey, and if you have interest in setting up a separate call, we'd love to help tailor some of this and help you create these segments in your own Google Analytics account. But we're going to show you a few ways to help measure the content that you've created and how influential it is in your customer's buying journey. So any marketing sales team knows that there's a lot of different types of content that you can create. So a lot of our clients here at TopSpot are either creating some of these pieces themselves, or we're helping them create new web pages, case studies, videos, testimonials, spec sheets, could be new blog posts, or even investing in new photo galleries or video galleries, right? So any team that has finite time, money, and resources wants to know, where should I spend my time? I have all these options available. What is the best content for me to go create or invest in? And how do I know that it is being influential to my customers and moving them through their buying journey? We do a lot of polling and survey gathering from our own client base. And when our own clients said that they were conducting their own business and looking for new vendors to partner with, this is how they rated certain pieces of content being important to them in their own buying cycle. So from technical and pricing information to reviews, video content, case studies, and blog posts. So this is more generally, but we're going to show you how to gather some of this content for your own performance and your own data. So as we showed earlier, this is a more common example of what a customer journey can look like on your website, right? So you can see all the different pages that somebody would look at, and potentially even a video that you've created if they play that on their path to contacting you and converting. So this is a screenshot from Loop Analytics, but we'll show you how to get this out of Google Analytics as well. The problem is that most marketing teams only look at superficial data to measure how impactful content is being. So they may look at how much traffic a piece of content generates as a landing page. They may look at how many times a piece of content is viewed, or how often a PDF they created was downloaded, or a video that they made was viewed. And it's great to know how often those things are taking place, but what you'd rather know is how often those views, video views or downloads, are influencing someone to actually convert and contact your business as a result of that marketing collateral. So traditional marketers will look at a path like this, and they will give all the credit for the conversion to the landing page. They'll say this page generated the visit that ultimately resulted in a contact form. And the way that you can look at that is in your landing page view in Google Analytics, and you may say, okay, here's that landing page on that day, created a visit, and ultimately resulted in a conversion. The problem is, what that fails to recognize is how influential all these other pieces of content were in that customer's journey. And so just like you don't want to measure all of your conversions from just a certain channel, you don't want to give all your credit to one piece of content. So looking across, this user landed on a machining page, looked at materials, equipment lists, quality control, and even played a video. So looking at the quality control page, if you see that in your own content, here's the user path to see how many times that content's being viewed. And what's important to note here is that looking at the views on that content, and this is for May, you can see it was viewed 101 times, but it only generated 15 visits. So this piece of content doesn't generate a lot of traffic, but it does generate a lot of page views. So you can create segments, which we'll share a step in here so you can review later in your PDF, or you can reach out, leave notes in the survey so we can contact you to help set some of these up, to look at users that are interacting with a certain piece of content and how that affects their conversion rate and things of that nature. So this is the screen that will show you how to create segments, which again, we'd love to review with you all one-on-one or in one of your next monthly meetings. But you can create these segments to say, I want to look at all the users that have ever viewed this page, or ever watched this video, or ever downloaded a line card, and see how their behavior differs from the rest of my site traffic. So for this example, we gathered all the users who ever viewed the quality control page, and we can see that when we look at the conversion rate, users who are not looking at that page convert at a 2.7%, and that users that are looking at the quality control page convert at a 5% rate, right? And if we look down on some of the channels, we can see that, like from a paid search standpoint, that when those paid search users visit and view the quality control page, there's a 6% conversion rate. So this is a very important, influential piece of content to a lot of users' path. So you may want to look at, do the top traffic generating pages on my site have good links pointing to the quality control page? Or do my paid search ads have good site links talking about quality control? Because it correlates well with outreach. We also added a feature to Loop Analytics to help marketers look at this even more simplistically. So in the filter section at the top of Loop Analytics, we've added a new page filter. So you can take a piece of content, maybe an industry serve page or specific material page or quality control page, and put that URL into this filter, and it'll show you all of the conversions that you've generated that viewed that piece of content. So for example, in March alone, this client on their quality control page had 11 different leads that came in that was a part of their customer journey. So you can see the different groups that reached out. You can see that it's paid search, organic, direct, and you can see some of the multi-channel here as well, from paid search back to organic. So a really cool way as a marketer to justify you're creating content that doesn't always generate traffic, but is heavily influential in what your prospects need to see on their path to conversion. Similarly, you can do that if you're investing in video content, right? So video content is continuing to grow if you're investing in testimonials and creating testimonial pages. And you see that in some of your conversion paths, or you want to pull a report that justifies the impact of that content creation. The traditional way of looking at it is looking at just the events, looking at the total number of people that watched videos. Well, that's great that 49 people watched a video, and you can see that people are using the content that you're creating. But what would be even better is to know how many times when people watched a video did they actually reach out and convert. So creating another segment for just users that have watched our videos, for this client, you can see that they have a nearly 6.5% conversion rate compared to the rest of the site is at a 1.5%. So you can see that 30 of the 74 conversions that they generated watched a video at some point. So we know video content is very influential and resonating very well. So we should come up with strategies to feature either new videos, to feature the videos that are working more prevalently throughout the website, or even look at YouTube remarketing ads and using video content to continue to influence that longer customer journey. And in this example too, you can see that half of the paid search conversions that they generated engaged with the video. So it's very important to be in tune and be able to analyze how certain pieces of content that you're creating are influencing your customers, beyond just generating traffic. And in one of our recent polls too, 67% of customers that we surveyed would watch videos somewhere in their research process when looking at sourcing from a new vendor or supplier. Other things that you can look at that are softer metrics that influence that customer journey are things about your quality standards, materials, it could be turnaround or contact time, respond same day quotes, things like that, customer service, your locations, custom options, industry experience. These are other things that you can look at or work with your team on and say, does our website adequately represent these other features of our business that we know matter, but when we look at our website, we don't see that clearly communicated and coming across to our prospects and current customers. So the final piece, the final half of the customer journey is you've shown up well, you've influenced and been in tune with how your customers are engaging with all the different content and different channels that you're investing in. But now is the moment of truth. They've actually qualified you, eliminated some of the competition, and chosen to reach out to talk about a business problem, a service need they have, or some of your equipment, right? So now that they've made contact, you as an organization still have 43% of the way to go to actually close and win that piece of business. And there's a lot that goes into what that journey looks like, but it all starts with the first impression. So the war as old as time is a natural balance between what marketing will qualify as a lead and what sales will qualify as a lead, right? So anyone who's worked in any organization for a while, whether you're on marketing or sales or business owner, understands that marketing may come to the table and say, we've generated all these leads, and sales may say, hey, we're not getting as many leads as we'd like, or they're not the right types of leads. And any organization is very natural to struggle in working across that handoff from marketing to sales. But your customers, they migrate through it regardless of how you're handling it, right? And so a lot of your marketing dollars and the smart investments that you've made can fall to the wayside if this handoff isn't done in a seamless way that benefits your customer in what is an increasingly competitive environment to win new business. And so we have two platforms, call tracking and form analytics, that we use here at TopSpot to help understand what is taking place in this very critical handoff so that you can measure and improve your organization's function and get better return on your marketing and ad dollars. The bad news is, regardless of how well your competition handles their customer service, you're not just competing with them for what your customers bring to the table as far as expectations. Customers' expectations are being set by the best in the business because your customers, whether they're buying from you in a B2C or a B2B environment, at some point they are a consumer themselves. And if they interact with an Amazon, a Southwest, a Nordstrom, or a Zappos, they have certain expectations about what good customer service looks like and what response times and the tone of voice and things that they expect when they're greeted by an organization. When polling our clients, we see that they typically reach out to 3 to 5 different businesses when they're quote gathering. So if your prospect has eliminated some of your competition, chosen to reach out to you as one of their 3 to 5, and then you put them on hold, you can't answer their questions, or you're funneling them to someone's voicemail, all the dollars and intention that you put into earning that phone call have just now gone to waste. And if someone else has done a better job of getting back to them, that's where the business is won or lost in these critical moments. 67% of those that we surveyed expect a same-day response time. And there's a lot that goes into running your business, or maybe you say, hey, I'm in marketing, that's not my jurisdiction, or you're in sales and you say, well, I don't answer the phones. It's all of your business to make sure that the organization is performing, and working across department lines is critical, and using tools to help measure this interaction is what the best organizations are doing. And so you may ask yourself, how often does your organization respond same day? And do you know that number? And do you know what you're trying to improve it to? And if you don't, it's okay, but it's something that you can go do using these tools, and it's something you should take a look at and set up goals and performance metrics to improve. 93% of those that we surveyed are likely to recommend a company due to outstanding service. So not only does getting better at customer service and that handoff from marketing to sales automatically improve your return on investment without spending any more money on marketing, but also the lifetime value of these people that you're being introduced to from your marketing efforts are likely to be referred, which is always your best source of business. So it's a critical, important step for nurturing the referral side of being intentional as an organization. And unfortunately, our data actually shows that almost half of the organizations never take time to hold customer service training. And so listening to phone calls and looking at the form submissions that we're able to see as a part of the marketing arm for a lot of our clients, we see service issues on the phone, but it's often not the person answering the phone's fault, that they haven't been properly trained to answer some of the questions, or they haven't been given a proper workflow if a certain sales rep is not available, how to handle that. So spending a little bit of time listening and measuring this handoff and putting a couple of training sessions can give you markedly better improvement in your close rate, your referral response rate, and make your organization sales cycle and customer journey a lot healthier. Marketing has a unique position, especially given all the tools you have in the digital side, to help measure and bring these issues forward to the organization to solve them. So for example, if you're looking at your form analytics, you could search for questions that people are asking, search for customer service, and try to find people that are reaching out, like this individual that's left voice messages, they were billed, but they never got their product. So that's an example where marketing can bring some customer service to the table. And a lot of consumers these days are using digital channels to air customer complaints or ask for customer service. We also have the call tracking platform, or there's other call tracking platforms if you have one in place, to look at how often and how well you're handling those inbound calls. So we've got some of the top reasons that callers become irritated, which you can probably look at this and identify with yourself. They're disconnected, there's a condescending tone of voice, you're putting them on hold for a long time. A call tracking platform will let you measure how long you're putting people on hold and get that experience bottled so that you can improve it. So for this example, the call DNA for this one client shows that 27% of their calls were not even being answered. So going to a voicemail, or the customers are hanging up because of long ring times or hold times. And if they simply got better at answering these 27% of the phone calls, they could instantly see a 15-20% bump in their closed won lead or qualified leads that they're already investing and spending the marketing dollars to generate. So we'll now move into some questions and go from there.
Great, awesome. Thank you so much, Josh. That was a really helpful webinar. We do have a few questions, a lot of really good ones coming in, just based on what you've presented. So I know we only have a couple more minutes, but definitely want to at least get to a few of them. Question number one, what should we do about the indirect competition that is taking up real estate in our search results?
Yeah, so the indirect competition that's coming in is certainly needs to be on your radar and could be impacting some of your performance. So taking a tabulation or working with our team here to try to get a sense of maybe the percentage or consistently who the indirect directories or informational sites are showing up, who they are, and maybe content that you can create that would be more in line with what Google's rewarding as far as what their content is answering. That's a good way to help go after more of the blog and informational style content or more informational that you're seeing. And then if it's directories that are showing up, we want to talk with you about that. We help a lot of our different clients evaluate what the potential value of being listed in those directories could be for your business. So we can maybe look at your referral data to see if you've ever generated traffic from a directory site. Maybe you are listed there, and try to get a sense of the impact it's having in a negative and the potential it could have as a positive. So, we are, if you're looking at Yelp or there's Amazon, we are working with clients and expanding offering to help them operate their Amazon product listings or Amazon performance, and then also with Yelp. So we're beginning to work with Yelp too to help maximize our clients' performance if Yelp is a consistent player in their search landscape. So let's have a conversation about it. We can help pull some extra analytics to support the direction, and then ultimately we can help you look at evaluating a test run or the business case for participating in that directory.
Great. Organic results seem to look different than they did a few years ago. If we're running SEO, how do we stand out with all these new Google features like the knowledge box or the Google questions within those search results?
Yeah, so that's a great question, and I wish there was just a perfect answer on how that evolving landscape could be solved for. And the answer is it's never going to be a job that is finished. I mean, Google's continuing to be progressive and to adapt their user experience so that they can remain the #1 search engine. And so our job is to just continue to evaluate what it is that Google's rewarding and what it is ultimately that users are looking for, and adapt our content to continue to win. So if there's a lot of questions or featured snippets that are showing up in some of your search landscape that's new, and it's maybe pushing down a listing of yours, there's a lot that we can do and help partner on strategically to restructure your content, to create better answers to those questions. And we have a lot of our clients that are in those featured snippets. So if you find that you've got a lot of featured snippets or there's certain searches you're noticing them, talk to our team, and we can take an evaluation and figure out how we can adapt your web page that has a better likelihood of displacing whoever is currently in that featured snippet, and evolve your strategy.
Got it. Okay, we're coming up on an hour here, so if you submitted a question that we didn't get to, a TopSpot team member will be following up with you either later this week or early next week to make sure that we get that answered. Again, thank you everyone for joining us today. We'll be sending the recording of this webinar along with some of the other resources we mentioned probably early next week. And we'd very much appreciate it if you took the brief survey right after this webinar. That feedback really does help us to improve the quality of our webinars and the topics that we cover. Thank you all, and have a great rest of your workday.